Hi, I want to make this video about some of the experiences I've had which are psychic, but they are not about humans. They're not about our contemporaries or anyhow. These are the creatures. They're out there, and their their appearance in or their communion or psychic link that I have established with them, and they are not very frequent. Once in a blue moon, they are kind of strange experience because usually psychic experience is about other people, about like religious figures, about government figures, about a lot of it is about women, but a non-human entity is sometimes it takes me a little time to figure out, hey, this is not related to anything that I personally know, and but before I go into these three experiences I've had, I want to try to bring some kind of historical context to it, or try to make some kind of sense that will make a continuity or some kind of context to it. I read a lot of these kind of off the net kind of literature is about space explorations. I read or listen to a lot of Richard C. Hoagland, and he kind of leaked out or gave out a lot of the stuff that the NASA had discovered, and they kept a lid on it, and the public never got to see a lot of their discoveries, and really that's a kind of disservice to humanity because people paid for all those explorations. So if there was a full disclosure, we might see things in a much larger context, and I think the reason NASA and other space agencies they don't want to disclose a lot of their discoveries is twofold. One is that initially they were hoping to use the newfound technologies for military purposes, and I don't think that will ever work out, because then other governments that have resources like Chinese or the Russians, they also have access to spacecraft. They can go to the moon or other places, and there will be similar technologies. The Americans might benefit for a short while, but it will be a short while, and I don't think that's very useful militarily. And then the other thing is that when a society or creatures or a race of ETs, they evolve technologically and materially. Also, there is evolution that goes on in a spiritual sense, and there is more moral development, and I suspect that the many creatures that they are not as immoral as many members of the U.S. government are, and they do not actively pursue military conquest or kill off other races or other humans, and the reason that the U.S. government is not successful might be that it's like you don't want to hand machine gun to a 6-year-old. You just know better, and also the the technology itself is so integrated with the way the person who's using it is, or the creature that's using it is going to use it. Anyhow, this brings us to a different discussion, and I know the reason that you are here is because you want to hear weird stuff, weird phenomena, okay? And this is something that happens to people or creatures that become materially very successful or wealthy, or the technology has given them almost everything. So, for example, we read in the human history, the Romans, they were very attracted to any kind of entertainment, even entertainment that was extremely violent, like slaves fighting and killing each other off to entertain as gladiators, to entertain a few guests, or in the circus. Um, you know, a lot of people pursue occult studies or read about this stuff because they are demented themselves. They are looking for forms of entertainment, and it's just like the U.S. government looking for different kinds of weapons in space. Well, the people who develop these occult sciences or technologies, even though they might be very weird people like me, it's some experience that comes from their inner self. It's not something that they pursued for entertainment purposes. It was their spiritual experiences. For example, you know, I'm just going to use somebody that the Western world knows, like Jesus. His experiences were not designed, or they were not divulged or told to the people to entertain them. It was his experiences that came out and became a public knowledge. So there is an element of that, but there is also like there is sometimes these psychics like me, and they have these experiences. Like I've had these visions and dreams that they just it's very little context or reason to for that. I sometimes wonder, why the hell did I have this dream? What does it mean? I mean, it's so far out in from daily experience that I just like I'm groping for any kind of history or context to try to kind of piecemeal together and make some kind of interpretation or meaning to this dream or to this vision. Anyhow, one context that I found, and this is reading up on the life history and experiences of different saints or psychics in the past. There is a book that the Sufi orders, they sell it. It's a really old book. It's called Tazkiratul Awliya, which means like remembering the saints. And then I think that the British, the Westerners have such a book, and it was kind of put together or was published by the Catholic Church, and they also have a very long history of different saints that they endorse or they don't endorse. All these things are chronicle of different psychics. Some psychics are extremely sensitive and have other psychic phenomena associated with them. Some are not. Some are simpler, and they work in a shop, or and not every psychic is the same, and the range of expressions or range of experiences are different, and there are many different forms of psychic experiences. Anyhow, these two were context for try to make sense of what just I experienced, and gives me like a reason to believe that it's not just all something that was passing. Anyhow, the, the I study up on the life and times of Sufi master Hallaj, and also on the life history of Imam Hussein, which he was a grandson of Prophet Muhammad, and certainly I've read the New Testament, and when someone or a group of people um, they evolve spiritually. It becomes like the spirit comes in and takes over, and the spirit is very rich, very possesses many qualities and talents, and it really doesn't care very much. Well, it cares, but not in the sense that you might think. It doesn't care very much for the material world, and also for the body. It's like you have a car that you have used for a long time, and you really like the car, and you know how to fix it and put it together and all that. Okay, but the car to me is more like a vessel. It's like a instrument, is a thing I use. I'm not personally in love with my car. Okay, it's important, it's valuable, and it's but if at some point the car becomes like a impediment to my personal life. I mean, I've had cars that had problems that were very expensive to fix, so I just dumped the car, or gave it to somebody, or gave it to the junkyard. Or the same goes with cars that become too expensive to keep. The payments are very high. It's simply a vessel, and I'm not in love with it, but I would rather have it than not have it. But there might come a point that hey, I'll be too disabled to drive a car or whatever. It's a equipment. It's a instrument. So when you read the histories of like Hallaj, you see towards his end, when the ruling government had made up their mind that they want to kill him, and they did kill him viciously, he was kind of like encouraging them. It's like he knew things are going to come to an end. I have suspicious that this goes on with histories of Jesus or Imam Ali. There is a story that when he was going to the mosque for the last time, he saw his killer on the road. He woke him up and told him, hey, come and finish what you had started to do today. And this is what Ibn Muljan finally did that. But there is some kind of foreknowledge of, and also it's like the spirit is arranging everything. It looks like when we read in the story that hey, these Pharisees did this and Pilate said that, but it might not be like that. It might be all prearranged in a certain way by the spirit, because it's just like I was done with my old car, I wanted to give it away, and thinking like this is very strange. But hey, uh, I, I didn't sign up to be a psychic, but I have had a lot of experiences, so it's okay to think in a very non-traditional way, try to make sense out of it. Anyhow, uh, regarding the experiences with ET, we must pay attention from the research that when all these things were happening, when these creatures were alive, it was at least 65 million years ago. This is okay. So there was a huge disaster, and a lot of them perished, and then some left the solar system because there was too much debris in the solar system slushing around the ecliptic plane, and it was hitting all kinds of planets, and some of these debris hit Earth and killed off the dinosaurs. So, but we humans are the evolutionary offsprings of the life that was here, and that's when the mammals evolved. And when we look at this history, we see that the creatures that evolved afterwards, they were very much more modest looking creatures, and they were more designed to self-maintain. It's like a foreign army comes and invades the kingdom and kills off the king and the palace guards, and drags all the treasures, and what's left in the palace is the janitors. Basically the janitors keep maintaining the palace, but they are basically more geared toward maintaining themselves and the palace, and try to bring some kind of order and meaning to what is left. So what I think is that the life forms, including humans and the primates, we are like the descendants that live in these ruins that were left by previous tenants, previous owners. So when we look at these past, we shouldn't project ourselves into it, because we did not exist in such a time. So this is why I'm telling you I'm having trouble explaining these psychic experiences, because they are not a context where humans, including me, were part of it. And then also looking at anomalies that are left in solar system and also on Earth, we see that I suspect that the Earth was some kind of like a ancient circus, that these higher creatures, they have constructed they engineered these dinosaurs to be extremely vicious animals, and very large, with all these implements of destruction, just like the Romans trained gladiators with the best weapons and best hand combat techniques for a purpose, because they wanted to become entertained. The best entertainment you could find is find the gladiator that had killed the last 20 of his contenders. So I think these creatures that were before this calamity were were really designed to entertain somebody, to entertain higher creatures. And these creatures, they didn't really live on the planet Earth unless they had some purpose to come and go. And another reason I think that they did live, but after the calamity, and I think they were ill-suited to live on this planet because of this has biosphere, and it probably made them sick. Their bodies were not accustomed to this level of gravity, and this constantly fighting with different forms of infections and bacteria. Anyhow, these are all or mostly speculations. It's just like speculating about my own psychic experiences, but at least I have some kind of research, some kind of history, either genetic or some kind of evolutionary history that other scientists discovered that I could kind of like grab and try to make some sense out of it. Then something happens to civilizations where they become very old. And look how many technological developments we have had since the last 100 years, 200 years. What do you think we will have 1,000 or 1,000,000 years? So I think what happened is that they're just like you construct a Maslow triangle, because the lower levels of this triangle or pyramid were satisfied the food and safety and all that. A lot of the members of these civilizations, they went into a business of entertainment, or trying to entertain themselves, or into spiritual quests and spiritual understanding. And also the technology was beyond what we have. We are technologically able to manipulate three out of four of the basic forces in the universe, excluding gravity. So I think what this civilization might have done after a lot of development was they were able to manipulate gravity. And so there is a record that there was an explosion in this asteroid belt, and I think they were doing some kind of engineering on their home planet, or the Saturn-like planet that they were circling. So there is some history that shows that Mars plus another planetoid, they were moons of a kind of helium, a kind of not a star, but was something that was like Saturn, had could have been if it had more mass, it could have been a brown dwarf. Or anyhow, it's very strange that in our solar system the sun is the only star. Usually when the stars form, they form in a binary situation. So there is one big star, and then there is another smaller one. So what I think this civilization, which originated in Mars or the other planetoid, was doing was manipulating this gravity of this home brown dwarf, and things went wrong. So they did something that was they weren't supposed to do, or their predictions were wrong, and this brown dwarf, or this Saturn-like or Jupiter-like planet blew up. Okay, and it destroyed the other planetoid that Mars was with, but ejected Mars into its present orbit. And also it had a lot of material. It slushed through all of solar system. It hit Earth, it hit the Moon, it hit many planetoids that the Martians had constructed, and it ruined a lot of stuff. So I killed many of these creatures, and then I think a fragment of survivors took their spaceships and left the solar system. So I agree with what the Hoagland was saying, is that all these places are pretty much empty. We might find some creatures that lived underground. They were like stragglers or survivors, but you know, it was a catastrophe. I don't think it was because of war, but hey, it could have been. And now in the psychic domain, studying the lives of the saints, I see there is some similarity, because the more you study cult, the more you become fascinated with death and dying. It's like or the spirit realizing that, hey, this is just a vessel, this is a car, this is not the ultimate purpose. So I could speculate that it might have been like a kind of a galactic suicide. That, like how in the Jonestown massacre they made the Kool-Aid with cyanide and they all drank it. It could have been something that they kind of knew or engineered it to get certain result, and from this from the result we see that it was very devastating. But something like that happening is so weird and strange that one could suspect that hey, this was kind of engineered, or it was kind of foretold, or somebody had a little hand in it, or didn't stop it when they should have. I read in New Testament that Jesus knew that one of his disciples is going to betray him. Don't you think that's very strange that he really didn't do anything to stop it? Or the Sufi master Hallaj, he was kind of secretly encouraging or aggravating the government to kill him. It does feel to be like a suicide or mass suicide. I don't know. Okay, the reason that you are here is also because you have such speculations running in the back of your mind. Anyhow, then I want to tell you these three experiences. When I sleep, and usually this happens in the morning, it's like a ghost or a spirit comes in and takes over, or a guy with the 6 PhDs, he comes in into an empty podium and starts talking, and all the stuff that he says, it sounds like total gibberish. It's so abstract. It's so like imagine somebody talking. It's like Madame Blavatsky talking about all these worlds and all these eventualities. A lot of it is almost complete gibberish to me. But it could also be that I am not intellectually or spiritually evolved to understand, hey, what the heck just happened? What is he talking about? I think that many saints have had such experiences, that there is either memories in the universe, or these creatures, they actually exist. And I saw one of these mornings when all this was going on, that there were these two creatures that they were fighting with each other. And one of them, I couldn't make out their eyes or their faces. They had, I knew they had hands or legs, but the clothing was and the way they were, just totally very unfamiliar. One of them, but it was dressed in a dark. I don't know what, the space suit. What was it? And the other one was in white. So they were fighting with each other. They were struggling, and then finally the white lord. I have other names. I don't have other names. Just gonna use this name. Or the dark angel lost, and white angel or white lord, he win. Okay, so when this whole thing was finished and I was watching, I had no idea why is the white angel or is a good guy and the other one is a bad guy. The bad guy lost, but you know, is it because he lost is the bad guy, or I don't know. This experience happened, and then I had this experience, two other experiences, and from the experiences I get the sense that these creatures, they're the younger member of the species. Okay, because I think in the universe life evolves, and evolves spiritually a lot more than physically or technologically. And the reason that these communion was with the younger member is because you know, just like we humans, we we teach our kids like have physics experiments in the elementary school, or we have a petting zoo, bring animals, and you know, the young kids, they can pet them, kind of examine them, the goat, or you know. It's a very condescending way of looking at my own species, but hey, this happened. Okay, so I saw that in a dream. I was in a like pure consciousness. I was like in the universe. I was going around mindlessly, and I met a kid, like a creature, really. He could do the same thing I could do. He could go from galaxy to galaxy. It's like a consciousness shifting places, going from place. And we were, I met him, and we were chatting, and he was showing me, look, I'm just gonna go through the center of this sun. And he went through it, and I followed him. And then he said, well, let's jump over Andromeda Galaxy. And we both jumped over Andromeda Galaxy, and we went to another galaxy. Anyhow, then he said that, hey, I'm tired of playing. I want to go home now. I said, okay. Then he let me see the place that he called home. It was a spaceship. And you know how, like in the Roman times, the Romans and Egyptians, they adorn their ships. It looked like a creature itself. The ship looked like the body of Venus, or it was it had a face in the front. This ship that he was in was like a sitting pig. It was a long vessel. In the front was the face of this creature, and the rest of it was the body of the creature, as if the pig has sat down. Anyhow, it was very strange. Uh, this is the the second experience, and I couldn't make any kind of sense out of this one. Then the third experience was like this. It was like one dream. I saw that I have been transported, or my consciousness has been transported into this place, and it was like a inclined plane. Was like as if I went on the roof of a building that's like a rain drainage kind of, and it was a huge flat surface. And I woke up and I looked around and I saw like about 10 feet, 15 feet away there was another human form, and it was like a guy, and he had I thought he's dead. I tried to go wake him up, and then I noticed that he's not really alive. He's not human. He's more like a shell of a human, like as if previously a ghost had come in there and deposited his doppelganger. It wasn't alive. So I kind of gave up, and I was looking around, why the hell am I here? I saw this creature came in, and the way he was, it was like a SpongeBob would be a good analogy, but it was like a big orb, big like thing like that, and there were these tubes hanging out. There were two tubes that were like but they were almost totally cylindrical. There were some implements at the end of the this cylinder-like thing, and for food, he had the same. The two projectors that came out was like two long sticks or two long cylinders. Anyhow, he led me the way I followed him. I came to this thing. It looked like a small school, and there were at least one or two other creatures like him. I sense one is like the woman, or they were maybe old women. So basically, the feeling, and there were a bunch of little ones too. And the feeling was that I'm like in an elementary school, and I'm like that. The goat they bring for the kids to pet and kind of examine. So anyhow, these kids were getting all over me, and many of them were coming and examining my head, and they were saying, oh, look at this, this is his head, this is his processing unit, this is where his thinking goes on, and that was like a interesting thing to them. And it was a petting zoo, but it was petting zoo for other creatures, intelligent creatures that were on a lower evolutionary scale, and this was very interesting. I cannot make sense of a lot of these experiences that they show up. I go for any kind of context, try to figure out. I know there are other ETs out there, or maybe I'll have some more experiences in the future. Anyhow, this stuff is totally speculative, and I'm not telling you to have a grain of salt with it. Maybe you should have the salt shaker handy. And also, I'm not crazy. These are actually stuff that happened and I experienced and try to explain it, okay? And yeah, I'm not mental either. Thank you very much, and please subscribe. My videos or ideas are totally researched. You will not find too many places with this stuff. Have a nice day.